Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you're looking for a peaceful escape and a captivating story, you've come to the right place. Please consider hitting that subscribe button and let us know in the comments where you re-listening from. We love hearing from our global family. Now, dim the lights, get comfortable, and let's journey deep into the heart of the Amazon for a tale unlike any other. Deep within the labyrinthine embrace of the Amazon rainforest, where the emerald canopy touched the sky and the mighty river pulsed like the very veins of the earth, lived the Koanu tribe. For generations, their lives had been intricately woven into the tapestry of this ancient land. They understood the whispers of the wind through the giant kapok trees, the secrets carried by the currents of the murky waters, and the silent language of every creature that called this vibrant wilderness home. Their village, a cluster of thatched huts nestled on a raised bank, was a testament to their harmony with nature, a sanctuary built with respect, not conquest. Elder Kayapo, his skin weathered like ancient leather and his eyes holding the depth of countless sunrises, was the heart of the Kolonu. He was the keeper of stories, the interpreter of omens, and the living embodiment of their ancestral wisdom. Around crackling fires, under a sky ablaze with more stars than one could count, Kaebo would recount tales of the jungle's power, of spirits both benevolent and mischievous, and of the mythical beasts that guarded its deepest secrets. Among these legends, one creature loomed larger than all others in the collective consciousness of the Koanu, Yakomama, the mother of the waters, the great serpent. It was said to be a being of unimaginable size, a primordial force that sculpted riverbeds with its passage and whose presence could shift the very balance of the jungle. It was more than an animal. It was a god. For centuries, Yakomama had remained a legend, a powerful deterrent against venturing too deep into certain sacred, uncharted territories. But recently, a disquieting shift had begun to ripple through the familiar rhythms of the Kawanu's world. The river, usually teeming with life, seemed strangely muted. Fish, once abundant, were becoming scarce in their traditional hunting grounds. The calls of the howler monkeys, typically a vibrant chorus at dawn, were more sporadic, tinged with an unfamiliar apprehension. Even the jaguars, apex predators of the jungle, seemed to give wider berth to certain areas, their silent patrols suggesting a deeper, more formidable presence had claimed dominion. Kale, a young hunter barely crossing the threshold of manhood, felt this change acutely. His senses, honed by years of tracking and observation, picked up on the subtle disharmony. He was strong, agile, and possessed a spirit eager to prove his worth to the tribe. But he also carried the humility of youth, understanding that true wisdom lay in listening to the elders and the land itself. He had seen the fear in the eyes of the older hunters returning with meager catches, heard the hushed conversations about vast, inexplicable disturbances in the deeper tributaries. He knew with a primal certainty that settled deep in his bones that something ancient and immensely powerful was stirring from its slumber. The whispers of the river god were no longer distant echoes. They were growing louder, closer, signaling an impending event that would test the very limits of the Kawanu's courage and their bond with the Amazon. The subtle shifts in the jungle's pulse soon became impossible to ignore. A fisherman's canoe was found overturned, its owner missing, with no trace of struggle, only an unnatural stillness in the water where it had last been seen. Hunters reported vast swaths of forest floor flattened as if an enormous, slow-moving force had passed through, leaving behind a musky, unsettling scent that made even the bravest warriors uneasy. The omens were undeniable, speaking of a presence too grand, too powerful, to be a mere territorial jaguar or a common anaconda. It was the mother of waters, Yakumama, asserting her ancient dominion, and her stirrings threatened the very survival of the Kaanu. Elder Kayapo, his brow furrowed with the weight of generations of wisdom, called for a council of elders. Gathered in the great communal hut, their faces illuminated by the flickering firelight, they listened to the accounts, their deep-set eyes reflecting a profound understanding of the natural world's delicate balance. They spoke in hushed, reverent tones, interpreting the unusual migration patterns of birds, the strange silence of the forest at midday, and the unsettling currents in the usually predictable river. They concluded with heavy hearts that Yakumama was not merely passing through. She was making her presence known in a way that demanded a response. The decision was not made lightly. To challenge Yakumama was to challenge a force of nature itself, a sacred being. Yet the survival of the Kawanu, their children, and their ancestral lands depended on restoring balance. They resolved to undertake a hunt unlike any other, not for conquest, but for understanding, for peace, and to reassert the harmonious relationship between their tribe and the powerful spirits of the Amazon. It was a sacred duty, a journey into the heart of their legends. Preparations began with solemn rituals. Shamans chanted ancient blessings, invoking the protection of jungle spirits and seeking guidance from their ancestors. Hunters meticulously crafted specialized tools, spears tipped with hardened wood and infused with protective herbs, and ropes woven from the strongest, most resilient vines, reinforced with knowledge passed down through generations. These were not mere weapons. They were extensions of their will, imbued with the spirit of the tribe. Kale watched, his heart pounding with a mixture of awe and trepidation. He knew this was his moment. Stepping forward, he respectfully offered his strength and skill to the hunting party. Elder Kaipo met his gaze, seeing the raw courage and unwavering determination in the young man's eyes. After a moment of silent consideration, a nod was given. Kale would join the hunt. The weight of the impending journey settled upon him, heavy as the Amazonian humidity, but beneath it, a fire of purpose ignited. He understood the immense danger, but also the profound honor bestowed upon him. The fate of his tribe and the delicate balance of their world now rested partly on his young, strong shoulders. As dawn painted the sky with hues of amethyst and rose, the hunting party, a small group of the Kawanu's finest warriors and trackers, gathered at the river's edge. Led by the seasoned chief tracker, Arawak, and accompanied by Elder Keipo, whose spiritual guidance was as crucial as any spear, they embarked on their perilous journey. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and exotic blossoms, a familiar perfume that now held a faint, unsettling undertone. The jungle, usually a symphony of life, seemed to hold its breath, its emerald embrace both alluring and foreboding. They moved with the silent grace of shadows, their bodies accustomed to the intricate dance of the rainforest. Kale, his senses heightened, absorbed every detail, the intricate patterns of sunlight filtering through the dense canopy, the calls of unseen birds echoing through the trees, the constant hum of insects. Arawak, a man whose life had been spent reading the jungle's subtle cues, pointed out the initial signs: a broken branch too high for a jaguar, a swath of crushed ferns leading away from a minor tributary. Then the scent, a distinct musky odor, ancient and reptilian, growing stronger as they ventured deeper. It was a scent that evoked primal fear, a scent that spoke of immense size and untamed power. They were following the trail of Yakumama. The deeper they delved, the more primal the jungle became. The trees grew taller, their roots forming tangled fortresses, and the light grew dimmer, creating an ethereal, almost suffocating atmosphere. They found clear evidence of the serpent's passage, a path of flattened undergrowth, unnaturally wide, leading towards a secluded oxbow lake known only to the most experienced hunters. Here they made a grim discovery: the partially submerged carcass of a large tapir, its body bearing the unmistakable, crushing marks of a colossal constrictor. The scene was eerily quiet, the air heavy with the aftermath of a powerful struggle, sending a shiver down Kel's spine. The hunters moved with extreme caution, every sense attuned to the forest around them. The jungle itself seemed to be holding its breath, waiting. Kale felt the weight of their mission pressing down on him, a heavy mantle of responsibility. He gripped his spear tighter, his heart a drum against his ribs. They were no longer merely hunting. They were entering the domain of a myth. As dusk began to settle, casting long, purple shadows across the water, Arawak signaled for them to make camp. They chose a small, elevated clearing near a deep, dark pool, a place known in tribal lore as the Whispering Basin, where ancient energies converged. It was a likely lair, a place of power that drew powerful creatures. The air was thick with expectation, the silence broken only by the chirping of crickets and the distant croak of a bullfrog. Sleep would be a luxury, vigilance their constant companion, as they waited for the dawn and, perhaps, for the awakening of the great serpent itself. The night at the Whispering Basin was long and restless, filled with the unseen movements of the jungle and the distant, unsettling sounds that only deepened the sense of anticipation. As the first slivers of dawn pierced through the thick canopy, painting the water's surface with a faint silvery sheen, a scout positioned silently on a high branch signaled movement. In the murky depths of the ancient pool, something vast was stirring. The hunting party crept to the water's edge, their hearts pounding in unison with the primal rhythm of the forest. Then they saw it. A ripple, then a dark, colossal mass, slowly emerged from the water, glistening with an otherworldly sheen. It was Yakumama, Mother of Waters, in all her terrifying glory. She was beyond anything their legends had truly prepared them for. Her body, thicker than the trunk of the mightiest kapok tree, seemed to stretch endlessly. Her scales, a mosaic of deep emerald, mottled brown, and obsidian black, shimmered, catching the nascent light. Her head, massive and ancient, rose silently. Her eyes, the color of molten gold, surveyed her domain with an unnerving intelligence, seeming to pierce through the very air. Kale felt a tremor run through him, a mixture of profound awe and paralyzing fear. This was no mere beast. It was a living, breathing force of nature, a primordial titan that commanded respect even in its terrifying presence. It was larger than any legend, a true embodiment of the Amazon's untamed power. Arawak, his face etched with grim determination, whispered instructions. Direct confrontation was unthinkable. Her sheer size and power would make it suicidal. They needed to outwit her, to lure her into an environment where their collective strength and knowledge could be an advantage. Their plan began to form. They would guide her towards a narrower, shallower channel further downriver, a place where the banks were steep and offered some tactical advantage, a natural choke point. Kale was tasked with a critical role, creating a diversion, a carefully orchestrated movement that would draw the giant serpent's attention without provoking a full-scale attack. He moved with practiced stealth, using the dense vegetation as cover, making just enough noise to rustle leaves and snap a twig, mimicking the movement of a large prey animal. The anaconda's head slowly turned, its golden eyes fixing on the source of the sound, its forked tongue flicking, tasting the air. A tense game of cat and mouse began. The anaconda, sensing their presence, its ancient instincts kicking in, would dive and disappear into the depths, only to resurface unexpectedly closer, its movement surprisingly swift for such a colossal creature. Each reappearance sent a jolt of adrenaline through the hunters. Kale, though terrified, held his ground, his movements precise, his focus unwavering. He was no longer just a young hunter. He was a vital part of a sacred mission, holding the gaze of a god. The air crackled with anticipation, the jungle holding its breath as the Kawanu prepared to face their greatest challenge. The carefully executed diversion worked. Slowly, deliberately, the colossal anaconda began to move. its immense body creating a powerful current as it navigated the water, following the perceived scent of prey towards the narrower channel. The hunters, moving with practiced coordination, positioned themselves along the steep banks, their hearts pounding in their chests. This was it, the moment of confrontation, a test of their ancestral knowledge and collective courage. As Yakumama entered the constricted waterway, her movements became more confined, though her power remained undiminished. Her tail, thick as a tree trunk, thrashed, sending cascades of water high into the air, drenching the riverbanks and threatening to sweep away anyone too close. Her coils, each segment rippling with immense muscle, searched for purchase, for a target. The confrontation was unleashed. This was not a hunt to kill, but a struggle to subdue, to demonstrate their mastery and restore balance to their world. The hunters, led by Arawak's precise commands, sprang into action. They used long, sturdy poles to prod and guide the serpent, preventing it from coiling around the fragile canoes or escaping back into the deeper river. Others, with incredible bravery, moved closer, attempting to loop reinforced vines around strategic points of its body. It was a dance of power and precision. The anaconda, enraged by their persistence, lunged, its massive head striking at the air, its powerful jaws capable of crushing bone. Kale, positioned near the water's edge, narrowly dodged a sweeping tail, the wind of its passage rustling his hair. He felt the sheer force, the raw, untamed power of the Amazon embodied in this single creature. In a heart-stopping moment, as he leaned forward to secure a vine, a coil of the anaconda, seemingly out of nowhere, surged towards him. He froze, caught in the serpent's ancient gaze, the air knocked from his lungs by sheer terror. But before the coil could tighten, Arawak, with a speed born of instinct and experience, shoved Kale aside, taking the brunt of the impact on his arm. The elder hunter grunted, but his focus remained unwavering. "Now!" he roared, and the other warriors surged forward, pulling on the secured vines with all their might. The struggle became a grueling test of endurance. Sweat poured down their bodies, their muscles screaming with effort. The anaconda fought with the ferocity of a primordial god, its strength seemingly limitless. But the Kawanu were relentless. They pulled, they pushed, they dodged, using their knowledge of the jungle, of the serpent's movements, to slowly, painstakingly tire it out. The reinforced vines, woven with generations of skill, held firm. Inch by arduous inch, they began to gain control, demonstrating not just their physical prowess, but their profound spiritual connection to the land. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the colossal body of Yakumama, exhausted but not broken, lay partially secured its powerful movements. Now restrained its golden eyes still, burning with ancient fire, but with a new understanding, perhaps, of the tread's unwavering will. The arduous journey back to the Kawanu village was a testament to the warriors' strength and determination. Carefully, respectfully, they transported the immense, restrained anaconda, its sheer size a silent, awe-inspiring declaration of their triumph. Word had preceded them, carried by swift runners, and as they emerged from the dense forest, the entire village awaited, their faces a mixture of trepidation, relief, and profound awe. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd as Yakumama was unveiled. Children, wide-eyed, clung to their parents, while elders murmured in reverence. She was brought to a specially prepared sacred pool near the heart of the village, a place where the waters were deep and clear, where she could be contained and observed. This was not a trophy hunt, it was a profound act of balance. The anaconda, though subdued, remained a powerful, living embodiment of the Amazon's wild spirit, now a guardian rather than a threat. Elder Kaipo, his voice resonating with wisdom, stepped forward. He explained the significance of the hunt, not merely a physical victory over a formidable creature, but a spiritual affirmation of their place within the Amazonian ecosystem. They had faced their greatest challenge, not with destructive force, but with respect and understanding, reaffirming their sacred bond with the Mother of Waters. They had demonstrated that even the most powerful forces of nature could coexist with humanity if approached with humility and wisdom. The entire village erupted in celebration, a joyous outpouring of relief and pride. Drums throbbed, ancient chants filled the air, and celebratory dances honored the hunters and the spirit of Yakumama. Kale, standing amidst the cheering crowd, felt a profound transformation. He had faced his deepest fears, contributed significantly to the tribe's success, and had emerged not just as a hunter, but as a true warrior, his courage tested and proven. He had earned his place among the respected protectors of the Kawanu. His gaze met Kayapo's, and in the elder's knowing smile, Kale saw the recognition of his new status, a silent acknowledgement of his journey from eager youth to respected guardian. The greatest anaconda ever seen by the Kawanu, Yakumama, remained in the sacred pool for a time, a living legend. The tribe studied her, learned from her movements, and integrated her presence into their daily lives, offering reverence and ensuring her well-being. Eventually, after ceremonies of profound respect and understanding, she would be carefully guided back to the deepest, most untouched parts of the Amazon, carrying with her a new understanding of the Kawanu's unwavering spirit and their commitment to coexistence. The incredible hunt became a new legend, woven into the fabric of Kawanu history, teaching future generations the delicate balance between respect for nature as power and the courage to protect their way of life. It was a story of resilience, of wisdom, and of the enduring, unbreakable bond between humanity and the wild heart of the Amazon.